Hello, good day, English 10 learners. So now we are embarking on the second week of second quarter lesson for this period. And last week we have talked about what? The language of research, advocacies, and campaigns. And now we are talking about argumentation. So the gist of the lesson that we have studied the last time is all about persuasion, right? And today we are going to explore another function of language which is called argumentation. How to argue not in a bad way but in, writing, how to argue your thoughts on how to convert those opinions into writing. And just a disclaimer, this is from DepEd Region for a CALABRZON Pivot for a Learner's Material, Quarter 2, First Edition. The maker of this video do not claim ownership over them. And the pictures that I'm going to use, I'm also gonna um, say or cite the sources where I've took them. So let's proceed. It is normal for any person to have an opinion or stand on issues happening around him or her. Behind someone's stand on issues that affect him or her are reasons for whichever sides he or she takes. So it is said in this passage that it is normal for any person, just like you. When you post something in Facebook, not all people likes or loves your post because sometimes it is against in their own belief. And yeah, and when you scroll in Facebook as well, you will see posts on popular people. Sometimes you will like it, sometimes you will not like it because it is normal for us to have a stand on something because we have our own reasons. And these reasons are, I believe, um, part of our belief systems, and it is part of our, how we think because we're, after all, we're, thinking human beings. We are thinking beings. And there are times when a person is compelled. When you say compelled, it means forced or obliged to provide these explanations to support his or her claims or ideas. Of course, naturally, if you are pro or you support a certain idea, you always have a reason why you are supporting that. Maybe you have explanations, as I've said, reasons or explanations as why do you believe in this certain matter. So in this lesson, you will learn how to put your opinions into writing. Sometimes when we post in Facebook, um, not sometimes, but when we post something on Facebook, that is a form of our opinion, but it is not organized like in writing. So in here, we will teach you how to organize your opinions and turn them into writing. So this is also called, an academic writing. This module focuses on deeply understanding the concept of argumentation. So I know that you noticed this girl. I got this picture from www.candymag.com. And yes, if you're saying that she is Christine De Serra, and yes, she is. So there are a lot of issues on the first week of January about this girl. And there are some people who are posting about the causes of why she died without even having the fact, without even having concrete facts about her death, and about the things that she did or someone did. Alam niyo yun. So, ang daming nagsasabi ng mga issues sa kanya without knowing what the real issue is. Like, in other words or in street words, maraming nakikisawsaw kahit wala man silang alam tungkol dun sa issue. So, just to recall, the death of Christine De Serra took place on New Year's Day of 2021 when De Serra was found unconscious in a bathtub in a hotel in Makati, Metro Manila, Philippines. She was declared dead on arrival at around 12:25 p.m. after she was rushed to a hospital. Initially reported as a rape and homicide case, according to her death certificate, she died of aortic aneurysm or a rupture of the artery. And because of this issue, sobrang daming nag-post sa social media, sa Twitter, at sa Facebook ng mga stand nila about this. So I'm gonna give you examples. I have taken this from www.rappler.com, and these are different opinions. You call it stand about this matter. So according from at Kaki P83, we would prefer your respect over your protection. We're not pretty things that need constant guarding. We're human beings. According to at Aries Money, rape happens because there are rapists. Silence doesn't mean yes. Clothing preference of a woman doesn't mean an invitation. Nothing less, nothing more. Do not teach a girl how to dress. Teach the boys to respect her. Hashtag justice for Christine Becerra, hashtag stop victim blaming. And another post from at the nail cutter. If the suspects were proven not guilty, truth can never ruin their lives. Why do we defend the suspects instead of focusing our energies in seeking justice for the victim? And yeah, I cannot see the hashtag, but I can see for Christine. It may be justice for justice for Christine this era as well. So these are different stand of people. Another example of opinions or stands was also taken from Rappler, but this time from their social media, Twitter. This was from twitter.com, Rappler.com. So, according to at Risa Hontiveros, sa patuloy na paninisi sa mga biktima ng rape, mas lalong dadami ang kaso ng rape. Mas lalong dadami ang mga kriminal. Rapists are criminals. Criminals should be put behind bars. Tama na ang sugar coating. Hashtag no to victim blaming. So, as you can see, you have seen a lot of stands about an issue. So, this is just an example of opinions. And let us proceed to the lesson itself. What is argumentation? So, an argumentation is a noun, the act of process of forming reasons. I will repeat, the act or process of forming reasons and of drawing conclusions and applying them to a case in discussion. So while expressing claims or opinions about an issue seems to be an easy thing to do, bakit nga daw ba siya easy? Kasi magta-type ka lang naman ng iniisip mo and then pagka-type mo, post. O kaya pag kachika mo sa kaklase mo or sa kaibigan mo, tapos na. And it seems to be an easy thing to do. Opinions are, it seems to be, easily made. But when we talk about converting it into writing, it is actually not. Hindi mo lang isusulat na ito yung stand mo about this certain thing. Hindi. So um, it has a pattern or it has structures. So why is it not an easy thing to do? So it requires an understanding of the following elements. So number one, to understand the art of argumentation, of course, you must have a knowledge about what argumentative writing is. Number two, you should have a knowledge on structural patterns of argumentative texts. Number three, employment of techniques in researching and supporting claim. And number four, use of language features appropriate for argumentation. So we are going to discuss the four of these, but with an exemption to number three because we're going to discuss it in the other part of the lessons. So now we are going to study these three key elements in understanding argumentation. So first, let's proceed to the element number one, which is argumentative writing. So what is an argumentative writing? Argumentative writing, as I've said a while ago, it's a process of developing reason. And in other definition, it is called persuasive writing because it seeks to convince readers to support a stand on certain issue. So just like what we have discussed last week, we are talking about persuasion last time, diba? We have campaigns and advocacies, and we have the language of advertisement to make us buy something. Ganun din yung argumentative writing. It's not just in speech, it's in writing. So argumentative writing in this sense is a persuasive writing. It is called persuasive writing because we are convincing the readers, which are the audience of what we are writing, to side on us para sila ay maniwala sa sinasabi natin. Okay, so proposition is very essential in argumentative writing. What is a proposition? A proposition serves as the point of reference of an argumentative writer. Ano sabi? Point of reference. Ibig sabihin, ito yung pinaka-main idea natin or the thesis statement um, of the issue where we are standing. It is our stand, in short. It is our opinion. It is where the writer decides whether to express his or her agreement or disagreement. What is the common example of argumentative writing? The answer is, it is argumentative essay. So, the most important or the most common example of argumentative writing is none other than argumentative essay. But what is an argumentative essay? An argumentative essay is an essay that presents a stand or a rationale on a given proposition or issue. Ibig sabihin, this kind of essay is, for example, the implementation of the community quarantine. So, are you a pro or are you a non-pro? And then you will explain your answer through writing, and you call it argumentative writing. And one of the forms of argumentative writing is also writing an essay, specifically argumentative essay. So the main objective of an argumentative essay is to convince the reader into considering your stand or argument on an issue. Pero parehas lang sila, di ba, na argumentative writing. Ito lang, ang pinagkaiba lang nila, argumentative essay is a form of argumentative writing. Isa lang siya sa maraming forms of argumentative writing, pero parehas lang ang objective nila or point nila. It is to convince you to stand on my side. Kung ako yung writer, halimbawa, hindi ako pro sa implementation ng community quarantine, then I will write a series of evidences, reasons that I have in my mind. I will state facts, everything just to convince you that implementing community quarantine is wrong. So, hindi ako yun na. I mean, that's just an example of an argumentative essay. Okay, so let's proceed to element number two. Element number two, key structural elements of argumentative writing. What are the elements of argumentative writing? We have three. So the basic components of an argument is first a claim or a stand. Letter B, reasons behind the claim. And letter C, evidences to support the claim. For example, as what I've said kanina, for example, the implementation of the community quarantine, that will be uh, the topic. So what is my claim? Am I a pro or am I anti? So, for example, this time I'm up a pro. So my claim is that I am for the implementation of community quarantine. And then letter B, the reasons. It means I will state all the reasons in my mind to convince you that community quarantine is did good in our lives. And letter C, evidences. So I will state, when you say evidences, these are facts that will help me to convince you to support my statement or my claim. So I will provide, for example, news about the good thing that this quarantine had brought to us, like that. So again, the basic components of an argument is number one, a claim, number two, reasons, and letter C, evidences. The pattern of idea development may vary from one writer to another. So, may iba-iba pong pattern ang um, stating your argument based on the three components. As an essay is usually made up of number one, introduction, number two, body, number three, conclusion, argumentative essays may use a pattern that conforms how a writer intends to present a point. So, we have 3 points, pattern A, pattern B, and pattern C. So, paano po ba tayo gagawa ng argumentative essay? Letter A, thesis statement. This is your claim. What is your stand about the issue? Letter B, first pro. When we say pro, supporting ideas. So, what are your reasons basically? Letter B and letter C. What are your reasons? Why are you pro in this stand? Or what are your supporting claims? Letter D, cons or refutations. When we say refutations or cons, these are the counter ideas. It may be in the form of evidence, a real evidence that happened in the real world um, kung bakit you are non-pro about this, if you are anti about this. So, this is also your support. So, hahanapan mo siya ng butas. Kung hinanapan mo siya ng um, compelling statements, mga supporting ideas, hahanap ka din ng mga counter ideas na makakapag-strengthen sa supporting ideas mo. And letter E, conclusion. When we say conclusion, this is the summary of your overall argument. So let us read. Pattern A, the thesis statement about the issue is presented in the topic sentence. It is followed by the first set of pros or supporting ideas, then second and third, followed by cons or counter ideas. Lastly, a conclusion that summarizes the whole point. So letter B, pattern B, what do you think is the difference between pattern A and B? You can go back and pause. Alright, so as you can see, the place of thesis statement and conclusion remained the same. So what happened was, after the thesis statement, instead of having the first pro or the first supporting idea, you have chosen the cons or the opposing ideas first. You presented it first and then presenting the supporting ideas after that. So let me read the description of pattern B. This is almost the same as pattern A. The difference is that it presents cons or opposing ideas or refutations first before building up the thesis statement using the pros or supporting ideas. So let's proceed to pattern C. I want you to go back again, pause this video, and take note of the difference. Alright, so in pattern C, we have the same position of thesis statement and conclusion. But the main difference is that, can you see pros or supporting ideas? No. So there is no um, pros in this pattern. It is all or contradicting ideas. So pattern C presents the simplest flow of arguments, starting with the presentation of thesis statements. Then three sets of the cons or opposing ideas. The conclusion needs to focus on justifying the refutations to fully support the claim. So those are the three patterns. Let's proceed to element number three. As I've said, we are not going to tackle this because we're going to have this next time. So this is the employment of techniques in researching and supporting claim. So this is the need for you to the skill of researching for an evidence, for a fact, garnering only truths and not just hearsays or opinions, so that your argument is reliable and valid. So lastly, we have element number 4, language features of an argumentative text. What are the features of language that is used in arguing or used in argumentative text or essay? Like in other forms of writing, the use of language, particularly the choice of words to be used, is an essential consideration in writing an argumentation. You always have to find the right words to say for you to win your audience or your readers. So, the first language feature for argumentative writing is or are models. So we have discussed this last time, but let's recall what a model is. So basically, a model is an auxiliary or helping verb that is used to express what? Ability. What kind of ability? Sometimes we use the model can. I can do all things. So it expresses ability. Sometimes possibility. Would it would it be possible if I'm going to marry you? So it's a possibility. And permission. Can I use this pen? Can I use your pen? So it's a form of permission. Or it is also used as an obligation. Obligation is one of the most compelling acts of argumentative writing. So, yep. So in obligation, we use must, should, like that. Alright, that. The use of modal verbs like should and must to express obligation, respectively, contributes to the achievement of sentences that provides the main argument. Letter A. So I'll give you an example. The public should consider wearing face shields as additional protection against COVID-19 infection. So this is obliging someone or obliging everyone to actually consider wearing face shields. It is imperative in nature. Hindi siya makikisuyo. Magkaiba yung makikisuyo at naguutos. Kaya nga sa Filipino, 'di ba? Meron tayong tinatawag na yun nga yung mga pautos at hindi ko na matandaan yung isa. Yeah. So, letter B, every Filipino must conserve water. Must. Conserve water, energy, and other natural resources. So, this is basically imperative in nature. Hindi siya, it's not saying na, can you do this? Can you do that? It's not as soft as that. When you say imperative, inuutusan ka talaga na gawin yon. So, it's a strong conviction. So the following adverbs also contributes to the attainment of the author's purpose for writing. We cannot just use must and should. Marami pang iba like these adverbs. We have usually, necessarily, actually, apparently, certainly, definitely, essentially, in fact, possibility, inarguably. Let's proceed to the second language feature for argumentative writing. It is evaluative language. What is an evaluative language? This is usually in the form of adjectives. So yung kanina, ano yung diniscuss natin? Verbs, kasi yung models are auxiliary verbs. And we also have discussed useful adverbs. And now, we are using evaluative language in the form of adjectives. It reflects the writer's attitude towards a certain idea. These words express feelings, opinions, or judgments na kailangan sa argumentative writing based on what they are describing. So, evaluative yan. Evaluative words, including the ones listed below, can have positive or negative effects on an idea. Appalling, awful, disgusting, dreadful, horrendous, shocking, terrible, and wonderful. So, alin kaya dyan ang mga positive, alin kaya ang negative? Alright, let's proceed to the next. The third language feature for argumentative writing is transitions. What are transitions? It helps maintain smooth flow of ideas in an argumentative text. Depending on the need to bridge one idea to the others, it is also called connectives. Through these words, the danger of the essay sounding like a group of disjointed opinions can be avoided. Kasi kapag ang ginawa lang natin ay pinagsama-sama lang natin lahat ng reasons natin, supporting ideas, without using transitions or connectives, para siyang tela na maganda pero hiwa-hiwalay. It's not stitched together. It doesn't have cohesion. Kaya we have to use the correct transitions or correct connectives to connect or to bridge ideas from one to another. What are the examples of these connectives? We have because, therefore, on the other hand, as a result, in summary, consequently, similarly, meanwhile, in contrast, and furthermore. So aside from those, the use of linguistic elements such as declarative statements, rhetorical questions, passive construction may help in writing compelling argumentative texts. So let's summarize our learnings today. We have talked about what argumentation is, what argumentative writing is, what argumentative essay is, what are the key structural elements of argumentative writing. We also have talked about the different patterns of argumentative writing. We have pattern A, pattern B, and pattern C. We have language features of argumentative writing like modals, evaluative language, and transitions. So at this point, pause the video and get your modules. I will explain all the learning tasks needed to be accomplished. So this week's task, you are tasked to complete the pro and con table, learning task 1, learning task 2, and learning task 3 and a mini reflection. So get your modules. Okay, so for the pro and con table, you are tasked to share your thoughts about the topic that is stated below. So the topic is implementation of community quarantine measures in controlling the spread of COVID-19 infections. So what are the pros or what are the good sides of this statement? What are the good sides of having implemented community quarantine? And on the cons side, you are tasked to write all the negative effects of community quarantine. Alright, so let's proceed to learning task 1. So here, you're just going to agree or disagree. You will write agree if you are expressing it expresses the truth about argumentative text, and disagree if it says otherwise. So for learning task 2, you are tasked to get an editorial from an old newspaper. You have to cut and paste it in the answer sheet that we have given you, not in the notebook. And then you're going to um, understand or get the main idea of the editorial that you have read. So you need a newspaper here, an editorial, not a news, but an editorial part of the newspaper. Hindi lang basta makadyaryo. The editorial part, it is usually in the middle, or yeah, in the middle, or in the first pages of the newspaper. And then you're going to get the evidences that is stated by the writer or the editor. Number 3, you would describe the way the editorial board proved its point. So you will get it. All the answers here in 1 to 5, you will get it from the text um, that you have read doon sa newspaper. Number 4, what can you say about the use of language and the words used in the given reading material? So, ano daw yung mga language na ginamit doon? Meron ba dong models? Meron ba dong evaluative language? Meron ba dong mga good transitions na ginamit? And anong masasabi mo sa language? Is it persuasive? Is it argumentative? Is it informative? Is it entertaining? So, number 5, were you prompted to believe the claims based on the ideas presented in the material? When we say prompted, were you convinced to believe? Why or why not? Alright, so we have just studied that. Okay, and for learning task 3, so take some time to learn about things that are currently happening around you. Watch news programs, listen to the radio, or read a newspaper. After doing it, at least one of these suggested activities, list down 10 events or issues which may serve as a good topics. Alright, so for learning task 3, this is easy. You just have to go search the internet, or you can read newspapers that can be a topic of debate, that can be a topic of argumentative essay. So, pag sinabi nating topic for argumentative essay, dapat, ano siya, issue. Like, yung maraming nagtatalo tungkol doon. It should be, yeah. So that you can say a lot from it. Just 10 events or issues. For example, the burial of Marcos in the libingan ng mga bayani. So, like that. So, yung mga hindi makamarcos, ayaw nila. Of course, dahil hindi nila tinuturing na bayani si Marcos. And para naman sa mga pro kay Marcos, of course, they want kasi siya ay naging presidente ng Pilipinas. Something like that. Yung mga ganong topic. Alright, so let's proceed to the next week's task. Para isahan na. So, next week, for this week, hanggang learning task 3 lang. But next week, you will continue learning task 4, 5, 6. You have to do the graphic organizer as well in the module, and you have to provide a reflection. So, ipapaliwanag ko na lang ulit. So, next week, you can visit the video again, and then, kung nalimutan nyo na kung paano gawin yung learning task for 2, 6, pati yung graphic organizer, you can just replay the video. Alright? So, for learning task 4, this time, you will be prompted to draft an argumentative essay for a given topic. So, the topic here is the conduct of limited face-to-face classes in the time of the pandemic. So, what is the main argument in this topic? Ikayo ang mag-iisip. Is it good to conduct this? Is it not good? So, pros, what are your supporting ideas to your claim? Dun sa cons na table, of course, yung mga counter ideas about your stand. Refutations is almost the same as cons. So, you refute. And conclusions, what should be the summary. So, this is just a draft or template of writing an argumentative essay because this is your preparation for next week in writing an argumentative essay. Alright, so learning task 5. Look for a good sample of an argumentative essay in English tabloids or broadsheets, it means newspapers, published here in the Philippines. Cut the said sample out and paste it on your notebook. We don't have a notebook in English, we just have an answer sheet. So, examine the text. So, hahanap kayo ulit sa Google or kung wala namang pang internet, pwede namang mga dyaryo-dyaryo dyan sa inyo. Pero in English dapat. So, number one, what is the main argument? Ganun ulit yung gagawin nyo. So, isosort nyo ulit. What is the main argument? What are the cons and pros uh, of the argument? Number three, um, how did the writer conclude the text? Paano niya sinamarize? What can you say about language features na mga ginamit like modals, evaluative words, transitional devices in the text? How did these elements contribute to the achievement of the writer's purpose? Two, which is basically to argue. Okay, learning task 6. In here, you are now going to write your very own argumentative text. So you will choose only one of these 3 topics that you can see in your module. You will just choose one, and it is said that it should not be less than 400 words. So it should be 401 words and above. And the last part is the organizer. Using the graphic organizer provided, show the different key structural elements and language features in an argumentative text. So, what are the structural elements? Ano yung structural elements? Yung pinag-aralan natin kanina, the pattern A, B, and C, and language features, yung models, evaluative language, and transitional devices. You may provide additional rectangles. Do this in your notebook. So, for you to understand this better, you better read the tip below. Okay, so that is all for our today's lesson. I hope you understood the importance or the importance and the role of understanding argumentative writing. Kasi someday, um, if you wanted to be a lawyer, you have to be very good in arguing, not to the point of like palengkerang arguing. It's academic arguing. All right. It's when you want uh to be, what do you call this, an a businessman someday or a businesswoman, you should know how to do argumentative writing to convince your potential buyers to buy your product, something like that. So it is very important. The bottom line of this is that it's very important to have a stand on something. It can be a pro, it can be against the topic, but the better thing here is that we should always have a stand on something. Black is black, white is white. There is no gray area. You should know where you stand because that's where you will find how you think as a human. And argumentative writing boosts the creative thinking in you, not just creative thinking, the critical thinking in you. And we should enhance critical reading by what? Critical thinking, I mean by critical reading. So, sabi nga sa isang quotation, if exercise is to the body, reading is to the mind. If you want your mind to be healthy, then read a lot of things. Do not just watch or, um, yeah, just you have to listen and you have to read in order for you to grow and understand a lot of things. It's so hard to be ignorant of the things around you. Dapat meron tayong say sa mga bagay because it's important to develop critical thinking in us. And you will use that during your senior high and in of course in your college level sa mga magte-take din ng HUMS or HUMS. Yon. We have to be very good in, debating. And this is for your preparation for your extemporaneous speech for the last quarter. So, I'm telling you as early as now, we will have an extemporaneous speech via recording. Okay, that's all. I am finally saying goodbye to everyone. I will see you next week. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.